It's an encore event for the Washington, D.C. region SCCA Virtual Racing League. 10 races have passed, our season is over, but now it's time for a postseason event a long way from home, from the places like Virginia International Raceway and Summit Point Raceway all the way to the West Coast and the Long Beach Street Circuit for our 11th event of the season. GT4 cars around Long Beach. 3 heat races for tonight. I'm Kyle Heyer, joined by DJ Clark. DJ, welcome aboard tonight for this postseason event. I love this racetrack. Long Beach gives you a little bit of everything. Tight corners, long straightaways, a little bit of sweepers as well. It's a fun place and a great place to go GT4 racing tonight for 3 quick races.
Yeah, it very much is, Kyle. An absolutely fantastic track, sort of the prototype of a street circuit, originally put into service back in the 70s, and today it continues to see fantastic racing. It really and truly does provide some great overtaking opportunities, even though it is a street circuit, but it's still one that'll catch you out if you look the other way.
Yeah, this is one of those street circuits that kind of defines what a street circuit is. It's got a little bit of elevation as well. Long Beach, California, population about 500,000 people. This racetrack originally constructed back in 1975. One interesting factoid about it, the budget for the Formula One events here, $7 million, only made $100,000 in profit. It was a different day back in the day there, DJ. I'm sure coming back here would be a little different.
Yeah, probably just a little bit by Formula One standards, but thankfully we have plenty of great series that do come to this Long Beach circuit, and it is absolutely a beautiful California virtual day out there. 65 degrees Fahrenheit in the air, 73 out on track. A little bit of wind, though, coming out of the bay, and that shouldn't be too affecting on the cars, though.
8 miles an hour, not a whole lot to talk about. This is a guy we'll talk about, though, our champion in our Miata category. A couple weeks ago when we finished out our season at Lime Rock. This is DJ Alessandrini on track now, qualifying 12 minutes, just 3 laps you get to lay down here in those 12 minutes to set the starting grid. Pretty small field here tonight, 13 cars, but this is kind of the cream rising to the top here of the entrance this season. We've got Ken Hausiel, Colin Daner, Andrew Pilata, Mike Leader, Alessandrini, Kyle Herbst, Morgan Burkhardt, Jack Chrissy. It's the whole gamut up towards the front, so it should be a really solid race, especially with Alessandrini and Daner. Those two consistently put on a good show. Here's DJ now winding up for the run down the backstretch here and into the final sector that leads to the infamous hairpin, a challenging right-hander that leads onto that long front straight.
Yeah, and that hairpin is crucial for a couple of reasons. Number one, I have seen a sneaky move every once in a while get thrown down into that hairpin, but most crucially, you've got to nail the exit of the corner here, Kyle, because that sets you up into the prime straightaway, down the long sweeping shoreline drive. And if you don't get a good run there out of that final hairpin, it's going to cost you all the way down into turn 1.
Let's see how Alessandrini does on his first lap, right to the top of the board, a 1:23.54. 2/10 quicker than Jack Chrissy, who's second fastest on the board. Colin Daner right now just kicked off his first lap, a little slow there out of the right-hander, heads under the bridges. But Daner, another driver I'd expect to keep an eye on. And the manufacturer split, also interesting to note, a lot of Mercedes AMGs. DJ, it's been a little while since I've done a GT4 race. Is this the car to have here at this street circuit?
Well, it wouldn't necessarily be the one that I would immediately think to, as the car does sort of carry on some of the characteristics of its bigger brother, the GT3 machine. It tends to be a little bit understeery, which means you can lean on the car a little bit more. I would have thought that we would have seen the Porsches and the Aston Martins a little bit more favored around here, but clearly drivers choosing that predictability and the ability to know exactly what the car is going to do rather than something that's maybe a little bit more nimble, but it'll step out on you if you're not careful.
That Daner, 1:24.248, jumps up to 4th quick on his first lap of the day. And Andrew Pilata up into 3rd place. He was a force to be reckoned with in the MX-5s all season in our dual class championship, but here he is in a very unlikely car, the BMW M4. This has not really been a car of choice the last couple of seasons here in iRacing, but Pilata trying to stick with it here. He works his way through his qualifying lap, and look at that, goes right to the top of the board, so some things might be changing here in the world of iRacing GT4 competition.
Yeah, they certainly may be. That GT4 used to be known as the machine that was great in a straight line, but struggled a little bit going over the curbing, and so maybe the new balance of performance here changing things around a little bit. We're only about a week into this new iRacing build, so there's still a lot of things for these drivers to figure out, but clearly Pilota doing a great job, and he has got that car tuned up and where he wants it to be.
I just tagged the wall at the exit of turn 5, though, and that's going to cost him. Alessandrini's on his 3rd lap now. He's 2/10 down off that BMW, the only entrant in the McLaren 570S GT4. car I would call swoopy, DJ. You know my terms.
Yeah, very swoopy indeed, and that's one of those cars that tends to be a little bit lighter, a little bit dancier at the apex. You can see just how much wheel that Alessandrini's having to put into the car there, coming on to Seaside Way, and clearly, though, doing well under his control. Only about 0.2 of a second back from the number 96, so clearly a car to watch out for here as he bounds over the curves through the Firestone turn.
Yeah, very aggressive here in the McLaren. Always heard this car is relatively close to the street counterpart and relative to some of the other more motorsport-focused chassis. I've heard that said of the BMW M4 and Mercedes-AMG GT4, that those are pretty motorsport-focused and share a lot with their GT3 counterparts, whereas the McLaren a lot closer to the street-going car than the others. How about a little bit of a pickup there for Alessandrini, a 123.458, but still a 10th shy of Pilata at the top of the board. Kevin Zhu improves to 6th place in his Mercedes-AMG. That is his final lap as well. Morgan Burkhardt, 3 laps in, or 2 laps out of his 3 have not counted. We know he's fast, so we'll see what he can do on this 3rd and final lap.
Yeah, and obviously those laps not counting. If he makes a brush with the wall, that will automatically discount the laps here on the iRacing service. But let's see if Burkhardt's able to gather this back up under him. Good time into the corner through the Indy left, now coming down into the hairpin. Very easy to be able to clip the inside there if you're not careful going down through it. I don't think Morgan did it at this point, so let's see if he's going to get one that shows up on the board.
Yeah, 123.468. It's going to be good enough for 3rd, and it will put him on row number 2. His invalid lap had him as actually on provisional pole. That was a pretty strong run there for Morgan Burkhardt as others continue to roll around. Laps completed. Ido Waxman in the number 8 has already completed all 3 of his qualifying laps, but is just getting in a little extra practice. It certainly will not hurt you at a place that can bite you as hard as Long Beach.
No, it certainly wouldn't, and this really is a street circuit as opposed to a lot of other places that do have those street circuit characteristics that are a little bit point and shoot, 90-degree corner after 90-degree corner. There's definitely a rhythm and a flow here to Long Beach, so I think what the number 8 here is doing is just trying to get into that rhythm as much as possible before the checkered flag flies for qualifying, and so they'll be ready to get off of the line the best when the green flag flies.
Louis Alessi in the number 43 has already made his qualifying efforts. That's a familiar-looking livery for us that spent some time in the SRO paddock there, DJ. A little Murillo Racing heritage on that car.
Yeah, very much so. One that makes me feel right at home. Gotta love to be able to see that for Alessi there. And clearly here, not doing too bad in terms of the run. 10th place. Definitely move up from there when the green flag flies.
And here's a look at Jack Chrissy. Motul car. Good-looking livery on this. Kind of a matte-looking white and red scheme. Looks good. Kind of reminds me of the Wellen Corvette Daytona prototype from the days of old, but he is now heading down back straightaway again, and he's currently 4th again. He's used up all of his laps, but only a 10th off of Morgan Burkhardt, who he will start alongside. So I think at the front is going to be very close. The front 6 are all within a half a second of each other on a track as challenging as this. I think we're going to be in for a treat. Remember, we've got 3 heat races tonight, 2 10-minute races where the finishes will set the grids, and then a 15-minute feature race. We will invert 8, so that'll be a real fun one towards the end of the night.
Yeah, that's really going to put the impetus on the drivers there to try to get themselves into the best position and really be aggressive, I think, coming down into turn 1, not only on the opening lap, but on subsequent laps there in that feature race. As we take a look on board here, you can see just how wide that entrance is, but you've got to be careful not to drift too far over the blue line there on the right side of the track, as that will count as an off track. You'll actually get a slow down for doing that.
Yeah, and the line you're talking about is basically right here, kind of where that double yellow is on the street. If you cross over this and try to kind of arc the corner a little wider, you will pick yourself up a penalty. So that's a critical thing. As a driver, you want to use as much racetrack as you have, but the racetrack is kind of denoted by the lines there, and it's one of the few places at this particular track where the edge of the racetrack is not just a wall.
Yeah, it's one of the few places on the track that it isn't, and even as we come down here off of Pine Avenue, you can really cut that corner even though the curbing is a little bit farther out to the left, and you don't get a slowdown for doing that, so watch for some very, very narrow margins there for drivers as they work their way through that corner in particular.
Yeah, it's down at turn number 8, and again, what we're talking about here is we talked about the white line or the blue line being the denoter of the spots that you can't go on the front straight, but here, this is all fair game. You can kind of arc this in and cut that all you want. We'll see drivers take full advantage of that and maybe even nick that inside wall there. at turn number 8 before they get that run onto Seaside Drive and up the backstretch. Something we'll have to keep our eyes on is where to make passes. It can be challenging here, DJ. You can get a slipstream on the front straight and all the way down into turn 1, but everywhere else you got to get real creative, and it is hard to get the job done here around Long Beach Street Circuit.
Yeah, it's very difficult to get that overtake done around here, but it looks like just about everybody's wrapping up as we take a look here at the scenic views around here. iRacing has done such a great job modeling this, Kyle. As I can tell you, it is almost pixel perfect as to compare to what it looks like in real life.
Yeah, I haven't actually had the pleasure of being down there on a race weekend, DJ. I'm not sure if you have. I've been on near the circuit, but not during a race weekend. I'm sure it is quite the scene to behold. You and I got the chance to experience the St. Petersburg event last spring, and man, that was a sight to see, but the West Coast counterpart, I think, even has more grandeur to it.
Yeah, it certainly does. I have had the experience to come down here, and you just get a sense of that history and all of the tradition that has existed here in running Long Beach. As you said, originally run back in 1975, IndyCar and IMSA taking over for them. So a very, very good run of great racing here at Long Beach, and just such a great track to carry on America's street racing heritage.
And I especially love street racing with GT cars. I know it's not necessarily where the heritage of this completely lies, but there's just something so visceral about Porsche flat sixes ripping around here right up against the wall, the Merc V8s thundering by. Street racing always has a place in my heart, whether it's Long Beach, St. Petersburg, or anywhere else in America or the world. But qualifying is complete. Andrew Pallotta and DJ Alessandrini will share that front row as they head to the fountain on their first lap through. We'll head down to the racetrack and get our first 10-minute heat started. 10 minutes around here, it's probably going to be about 8 laps worth of racing, so we'll keep that in mind. Not a lot of opportunities to overtake. You're only going to get a couple of shots down there into turn 1 at the end of the boulevard there. So heading down towards the Firestone turn is where we're going to pick up our pace car here in just a moment. Let's go through our starting lineup here, DJ. Row number 1, it's going to be Andrew Pallotta, that's number 96, and DJ Alessandrini in the number 61 McLaren. He'll roll off on the outside of row 1.
In the second row, it's going to be Morgan Burkhardt in the number 2, and Jack Chrissy, both joining them in Mercedes.
Row number 3, it's going to be Ken Halseal in the number 23 car. He's in that green Aston Martin you see in the middle of your screen. Colin Daner's Mercedes AMG rolls off alongside it in 6th in the number 88.
The number 5 Mercedes AMG GT4 of Kevin Zhu will line up in 7th, and then Kyle Herbst will be in the Aston Martin number 89.
And to row number 5, Ido Waxman's Mercedes, the number 8, starts 9th place. Louis Alessi starts 10th in the number 40.
Mike Leader will line up in 11th, followed by Adam Kobach in 12th, and then rounding out the back of the field, it is Charlie Abel in 13th.
13 drivers, small field, but it's going to be a good battle tonight. Sounds like, did Abel take the grid? He did not, so it'll be 6 rows, 12 cars taking the green flag here tonight as we head down towards the final corners and get things kicking off here from Long Beach, the Washington, D.C. region SCCA Virtual Racing League. When we stop racing in the real world, we pick up iRacing and kick off a off-season of action. There's no true off-season in racing. You got your sims to keep your appetite fulfilled all winter long. Field is racked up and stacked up. Double wide, and green flag flies. We're racing at Long Beach. A nice clean start by the BMW. Pallotta sprints free and clear of Alessandrini behind as Alessandrini and Burkhardt are side by side towards 1.
And this is where things are going to get a little bit hairy. Looks like Alessandrini has the edge over Burkhardt, but Burkhardt later on the binders going down into the corner. Alessandrini has to try to give up the ghost there a little bit. They're going to be side by side coming into the fountain. That's never a good idea.
Still side by side, and Alessandrini clears Burkhardt. Jack Chrissy sees some opportunity, almost jammed the nose of his Mercedes right into the mix, but backed off. Pallotta sprinting away. Alessandrini, Burkhardt, and Chrissy still fighting for scraps for second. DJ sideways and around.
I think he just got on the loud pedal a little bit early there, maybe spun the rear tires. That just looked like that car did not want to grip up. As we go back to take a look at a replay, I don't think there was contact in between the two. Oh, no, there was. The car wanted to break away there a little bit, and Burkhardt left with nowhere to go and ran into the back of Alessandrini.
Yeah, he's going to take a big chunk of curb here at turn 5, and it just bouncing. It's already sideways. Gets some contact from the Mercedes and spins around. An uncharacteristic mistake and problem for Alessandrini. He'll have to fight off that issue all night long. Down the backstretch here, the 23 of Halseal under fire from Herbst in the 89. That's the Aston versus Aston battle on screen now.
And these two have been going at it hammer and tongs since the beginning of the flag. Now here they come down into the hairpin side by side. Almost a little bit of banging doors there as they exit the corner. They're going to be in a straight drag race down the front straightaway.
Waxman licking his lips here. We're right on board over the shoulder as we head down straightaway. The 89 has the inside here, but when they get to turn 1, the roles reverse, and it's going to be a drag race. Aston versus Aston and a Mercedes in tow.
Oh, and look just how later there Housey was able to brake, but almost got the car into the tire barriers there. And now here comes Waxman trying to see if he's going to be able to get anything. Not going to be able to do it here at this point. They go back single file.
Yeah, I don't think this is over yet by any stretch of the imagination. Housey drove into turn 1 really hard to clear Herbst, and he did just that, but at what cost to the tires? Get those brakes heated up a little bit too much, even in a short race like this. 1 lap complete. And now at the pace we're going, this might only be a 7-lap race. We're kind of right on the edge in this 10-minute event.
Yeah, we're right on that edge, and so that's going to be a thing for these drivers. They're going to have to keep their eyes open on what exactly the clock will be doing, and so that's going to add another layer of, I think, concern and intrigue here for all of these drivers, as we've got a little bit of side-by-side here. Housey under attack.
Kevin Zhu is the 5 car on the outside. The Mercedes, he got a piece of the wall, and so did the lone Porsche in the field, Mike Leader in the Porsche Cayman. He got the wall at the exit of turn 9. Look at this 2x2 through turn 11, DJ.
My goodness gracious, in contact there at the end. Everybody getting stacked up as they tried to be able to find the grip off of the corner, Kyle.
Yeah, there was just nowhere for anybody to go there when they got jammed up. And look up the road, Ken Housey has Herbst back on him. Herbst tries the other side this time. We'll see if this works out any better for him.
Well, we will have to see. He can be later on to the binders. We know Housey as they go down into the braking zone for turn 1. Looks like the number 89 is going to get the advantage, and taking an opportunity there is the 53, the Porsche of Mike Leader.
Oh, and that put Housey offline, almost 2 tires in the fountain. And look at Kevin Zhu right back in the mix here. This is thrilling stuff for 5th place. A little bit more contact there as Leader gets leaned on by Zhu in the 5.
Yeah, big leaning on each other here at this point, trying to see what they are able to do as they now get on the loud pedal, headed towards the Tecate turn, trying to see if that Porsche is going to be able to hold off in advance of 2 Mercedes as they come down into the corner contact.
And they both spin, and splitting the difference is Kobach and Alessi. Waxman and Zhu gather each other up there, and there goes DJ Alessandrini picking up a couple of spots, but the 8 just got in there a little bit too hot there, DJ, and I think wasn't a lot of room there either, but they just kind of took each other out and through the middle went everybody else.
Yeah, just parting the seas there, and it looked like a little bit of a clip there from the Mercedes coming down into the corner, and both of them just spinning in perfect congruity there as now they're going to get their way back out on track in 11th and 12th.
Out front, Andrew Pilata leads the way, but notably, have a look at this lap time for Pilata, a 1:23.802. Last time by, well, we just had the lap time strip, so they're pretty much dead even, but the previous lap, Burkhardt took a big chunk out of Pilata's lead, so we're not over yet. We're about halfway through this event, but Pilata's still got to stay on the loud pedal and keep moving forward because Burkhardt and Chrissy are coming and coming quick.
Yeah, they certainly are. Let's see what they are able to do, though, here at this point. If these two continue to scrap a little bit, it may be a situation where Andrew's able to pull off into the distance. Big clobber of the curbs there for both Burkhardt and Chrissy coming through there on the right-hander. Now as they get onto the loud pedal, that BMW looking very, very strong up in the lead of the race.
We've seen this in the real world. This BMW is pretty solid at the street course tracks in the mix through corners here, looking very solid. And I wonder what changes have been made to this car because the balance has really seemed to favor this BMW. I have not seen anybody on purpose choose the BMW in a year or 2 at least, DJ. So that's exciting. This battle for second, and a little further in the field, Louis Alessi and Adam Kobach are fighting for 8th place.
Another Mercedes versus Mercedes battle. The number 43 of Alessi trying to hold off right here. Only about 4.5 minutes left to go. So if I'm Kobach at this point, I know I need to get moving. Yeah,
Kobach in the 85. Big understeer there. Started 12th, basically dead last. He's up to 9th. He's gained a few spots. Some of them, though, due to attrition. Well, he's got some work to do if he wants to get a natural pass here. So tough to get that run out of turn 11. And you're fighting traction control in these GT4 cars as well, DJ. The car just does not want to accelerate. The diff is going to lock you out. Spin the tires. It's a tough time. And for second, battle for P2 here.
Yeah, Burkhardt just able to hold ahead of Jack Chrissy there going down into the fountain section. Looks like they may have come to blows a little bit down into turn 1.
There's a look at it. Morgan Burkhardt, he overshot turn 1 here. And Chrissy took a hard left to miss him. They didn't crash, but it was awful close. But we see this a lot. misjudging the turn 1 braking zone is a classic way, or where the wall is entering turn 7.
Yeah, Burkhardt catching that outside wall. That's going to cost him probably about a tenth and a half here, as Chrissy certainly knows it. And that is music to the eyes here. Now he makes a mistake into the tire barriers.
Oh, man. Just these Mercedes must be a little wider than they feel, because two drivers following each other, both clobbering the fences within a couple of corners from each other. But just misjudges the turn in right here, gets the inside, and then immediately gets the tire wall on the outside. And that will likely bend up some of the suspension components and make this a pretty miserable last 2 laps for Chrissy.
And that's not uncommon to see here, Kyle. If you clip that inside curbing, you can definitely ping-pong sort of off the walls a little bit. And so I would not be surprised if we see a couple of more instances, whether it's down into that run onto Seaside Way or in another corner where you definitely get that ping-pong effect up in the field.
Andrew Pilata leading and just ran his best lap of the race and has extended his lead a little bit over Morgan Burkhardt in the number 2 who runs second. This time through is about 3 laps to go, maybe 2. It's going to be tight when we get back to the start-finish line with how many laps we have left to go in this race. Battles formulating back here again for 8th, Louis Alessi and Adam Kobach, the Mercedes crew, P8.
Yeah, this is separated out just a little bit from what we saw it, but some good sustained pressure from the 85 of Adam Kobach. And now look, DJ Alessandrini catching on to the back of the field right now. This could be a 3-car battle here in what will be the final 2 laps of the race.
And have a look. This is interesting, looking down the list on the timing and scoring screen. Alessandrini just ran his best lap. Kobach just ran his best lap. Alessi just ran his best lap. Daner just ran his best lap. Pilata just ran his best lap. Half the field has just gone the fastest they've gone all race. The tires are fully up to temp now, and they can really attack.
Yeah, they can really attack here, and that rhythm that we talked about earlier, the groove, they're all feeling it here at this point, and so I think you're going to continue to see lap times tumble a little bit, even as we get into the next race. Here comes Alessandrini trying to make the move, going down to the Firestone turn, thought about it, going back for it, and now tries to go for it. Not going to get the full line that he'd like, but he's going to try to sweep around the outside of Indy left.
Oh, Kobach kind of gave it to him, and he's fighting back now through turn 11. Might try to cross him up and get the better run onto the front straightaway here, but I think Alessandrini is going to complete that and drive away. We know he's fast, but he just kind of got dealt a bad hand there on that opening lap. 1 minute, 10 seconds to go. Pilata's already through, and we should be 2 laps to go at this stage.
I'm not sure if it's 2 or 1 lap to go at this stage, honestly.
It was tight.
We'll have to, it was very, very tight at the line. We were talking about 7 or 8 laps, depending on what it's going to be.
Alessandrini's hoping it's 2 because he's got Alessi on the chopping block just up the road from him. He's got time to get there. Pilata, though, entering turn 8 already, so that's, if he can get back to the stripe in under 40 seconds, we might get that extra lap, and pretty close.
Yeah, very, very close here. Only about, there you can see on your screen, 30 seconds remaining or so. We'll have to see what Barney decides to do. It's all going to be down to the flagman here at this point.
Last corner for Pilata on this lap, turn 11. Real tight, 18 seconds to the stripe. And under the Acura bridge, that means that this time through, there's the white flag waving, and we will get 1 more lap here from Long Beach, and that's a gift for Alessandrini, who's hunted down the 43 of Louis Alessi.
Yeah, it's just going to give him 1 more chance here. Let's see if Alessandrini is going to be able to make this one. Better line there off of the hairpin, but wasn't able to get on the throttle nearly as well. Going to get a nice heaping of the draft here going down Shoreline Drive. And let's see if Alessandrini is going to be able to make a move here into 1. I don't think so.
And McLaren has a top speed advantage that you can use right at the end of the straightaway here, but the Mercedes-AMG gets such good run off the corner. Little understeer there for the 43. Alessandrini looks to the left in the fountain turn and backs off and tries to get a good launch out of it, but I think this battle's going to go down all the way to the tail end of the lap here. Hard to pass in this middle sector.
Yeah, very difficult to pass unless there's a mistake made. Look for the first opportunity of the turn from Pine Avenue onto Seaside Way or down into the Firestone turn off the backstretch. That's, I think, where Alessandrini's going to want to make this move.
Definitely not liking the curbs, though. That's the second time we've seen him have a real bad bounce over turn 5. Lap 1 time it caught him, didn't have the heat in the tires to save it, and then had a car up the rear tailpipes that didn't help either. This battle's going to go all the way down to the end. By the way, Pilata is coming out of the final corner. He's going to pick up the checkered flag here in race number 1, as in the background, Alessandrini dives into the Firestone turn and grabs 8th place away from Alessi.
Great textbook move there from Alessandrini, just absolutely able to send it down into the hard braking zone.
So Pilata, Burkhardt, Chrissy, your top 3, then Daner and Herbst, the rest of your top 5. Ken Hausiel's come on through. Here comes Mike Leader, and Alessandrini recovering to 8th from his 12th place run on lap number 1 after falling from 2nd. So race 1 complete, DJ. Catch a breath. That was a wild one, and we get 2 more to do.
Yes, indeed we do. And don't forget that this next race is going to be the crucial one because we will invert 8 into the feature, and that's going to make things very interesting.
I'll bet you DJ wouldn't have hated for that to be, this race to be the one that got inverted because he finished 8th. Oh, it was the race where he got inverted, so he will start on pole. Look at that.
All right, well,
oh, convenient.
There you go. That works out pretty well for DJ, and it certainly explains a lot of his tenacity and drive to get up into that 8th place position.
And he didn't have any more places to gain either, so that certainly didn't hurt him. As we get gridded and head back down to the racetrack here, starting lineup for this one is going to be on the left-hand side of the screen. And there it is. The McLaren and Porsche start on row number 1. It's an all Aston Martin row 2. 3 Mercs and a BMW make up next couple of rows. And then all Mercs all the way down to Charlie Abel, who I don't think has joined us again. I don't think he'll run in with us tonight. But Matt Chrissy is also not on the racetrack just yet. Only got 8 seconds to get out there.
Gotta hurry it up here at this point. Jack doesn't want to miss that start.
And I think he might have. The bummer, he was going to start in 6th. Field is, oh, there he goes. Now he's on. Oh, nope, in pit lane. Just missed it. So he will have to start from pit lane here and have to work his way through. In a 10-minute race, that's going to be a pretty big challenge to overcome. So that 10-minute race is going to feel like a lot longer for driver the number 6.
It certainly is. He's going to have it all to do here at this point, but we will have to see. Maybe he'll be able to pick up a few positions, but I think it's going to be a very, very tough running for him.
Pace car pulls off. Alessandrini and Leader are going to share that front row. And here comes the field to the flag stand here on Shoreline Drive. Waiting, 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 a long stretch, and there it is. Green flag flies racing again from Long Beach. Alessandrini gets a nice clean launch there on the outside. We're 3 abreast in the backdrop, though, and a little bit of smoke flying from the mid-pack here.
Yeah, not sure what that was. I think somebody slamming on the brakes. Looks like Alessandrini's going to be able to hold off coming down into turn 1, but here comes Hausiel trying to be able to get a move down to the inside of that Porsche of Mike Leader.
This is a pretty critical moment here. I don't know that Leader's got the pace to stick with DJ. I know that Hausiel might. A little bit of side-by-side as Pilata shoves his way through back into 6th. But give DJ clear racetrack and 10 minutes to go win a race, and he'll go get it for you.
Yeah, he certainly will, but let's see what will shake down the rest of the field. Oh, car around. I believe that's Kovac.
That's Adam Kovac in the 85. He has slipped and lost position. There goes Hausiel past Leader for 2nd, but he's wide at the exit of turn 7 here, and here comes Leader back to the outside.
Leader going to try to be able to get that to go, but it's not going to work. Going to see if he can get a little bit better of a run, but that is Kyle Herbst that got a great run off of the line. Herbst, Leader, and even Colin Denner looking like they may want to get involved in this.
Double wide down to Firestone turn down here, and still side by side. Herbst, and wow, they both took each other out there. Contact, and both ended up in the barriers. And now there goes the Leader car.
My goodness, everybody getting thrown off here in the first lap, and a little bit of a coming together down into the hairpin. Let's take a look at this replay.
Yeah, just those two. I got to go back a little bit farther and see exactly what led to this. But was there contact from Leader to Hausiel? No, there was not. But watch Herbst here. Now Hausiel kind of gets into Herbst, and then they go off into the next turn. Around they went.
Yeah, just a little bit of side-to-side contact there between the two of them, and that was just enough to be able to send them around. As we take a look there, almost a little bit of contact up with the wall from those two Mercedes. I believe that was Danner.
Waxman and Alessi, the 8 and 43, the ones that are battling for 7th on screen. Alessandrini leads by 3.3 seconds, but for 2nd place, that battle is still not fizzled, despite half the drivers being involved in it. Getting involved with each other. Herbst, Daner, and Burkhardt. Big slide for the 88 as he's got Burkhardt behind him. These two youngsters both kind of running in their local SCCA region and getting lots of experience here in GT cars in iRacing.
Yeah, getting plenty of good experience here. We take a look on board with Morgan Burkhardt just holding into that draft behind Colin Denner there up ahead of him, trying to see if he can maybe outbrake him down to the Firestone turn. Not going to be able to do it. Takes a little bit of a wider entrance into the corner, trying to carry a little bit more momentum.
Balancing on brakes and on throttle there, and then a little awkward entry there to turn 11. Was going to hit the end of the wall. Had to bail out as we watch, Alessi and Leader get together at turn 10. And Leader's got no rear wing on that, which is not helping the downforce situation on this car.
No, it certainly is not, and that means that it's going to be a little bit squirrely coming off of the corners, probably trying to get that traction down, and not to mention the fact it's going to be a big problem, I think, going down the straights and trying to get onto the binders, as that car's going to be awful squiggly when it gets onto the brakes.
Yeah, you can see it wobbling around a little bit. Jack Chrissy we're on board with here. Little slip and slide. The Porsche is so good on the brakes, though. You see how much time he gained on Alessi on the entrance to the fountain. And for second place, again, you can't take the camera off these guys. Daner and Herbst go back at it. Herbst on the outside on the run to turn 5.
He's going to try to be able to get something there in the 89, but that's going to be 2 positions lost there for Herbst, as that move just didn't work out for the Aston Martin driver.
A lot of rear slip. And he's going to lose 2 spots. You see that inside. You can get pinched and can't get the throttle down. And he'll lose spots to Daner and Morgan Burkhardt in just 2 turns. And look who's looming in the background, by the way. Andrew Pilata's coming in that teal BMW.
Yeah, certainly is. He wants to see this battle continue on here for second place. That's just going to allow him to be able to close in more and more to this field. And look how aggressively he's driving there through the Indy left, just absolutely chopping away at those curves.
Now, the BMW is handling it great. We didn't see that be the case with the McLaren that DJ Alessandrini is driving. It's not holding him back now that he's got clear racetrack, 4 seconds clear of the field. But what's helping him is this battle for second has been raging since the drop of the green flag. 5 minutes in, 5 minutes to go, and here comes Burkhardt right by Daner, takes second place away, and gets the car slowed down for turn 1 just right.
That was an incredible move there from Morgan Burkhardt. Just looked like Daner was standing still, frankly. Was just able to move around him on the straightaway with no problem. So a great move there for the number 2.
I almost wonder if Daner helped facilitate that pass. Maybe he knows that Morgan is the best driver to go run down DJ. I just don't know that 4 seconds in the span of 5 minutes is really reasonable. But, you know, if you're going to work together, you're going to put your best bullet in the chamber to go after that race leader. And right now the gap stands at an even 4 seconds. We'll see if it comes down or goes up.
Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty hard to be able to run down DJ at this point. Looking at the best lap times, he's about 0.3 of a second faster than Burkhardt on his best lap. A little bit of contact in the back with the outside wall, though.
Yeah, there goes Louis Alessi. But Waxman and Zhu were the 2 we were just watching, and they did have a little bit of a kerfuffle down here at turn 8. Was there contact, or did the 5 just get? No, he just got the wall himself all in his own.
Yeah, I think he just ran the corner a little bit wide there, Kyle, trying to go too wide into that zone. It just threw him off just enough to send him around the outside. Good little 3-car battle here. This looks like it's back for about 8th place.
Now that is 8th place. It's Alessi in the orange car, then Mike Leader behind with the wingless Cayman. Looks like an old Grand Am ST Cayman without the rear wing on it, and Jack Chrissy in tow. But I guess the wings on these GT4 cars are not as critical as they are in GT3 machinery, because Leader is hanging tough there with that slick rear-ended Porsche right now running 9th.
Yeah, I'm impressed with that, and obviously this circuit, not exactly the most downforce intensive. There are a majority of slower speed corners around here, but just his ability to hold on tight to this, very, very impressive run for him.
Yeah, doing a good job. I mean, it could have been a lot worse backing into the wall on the opening lap, but sticking with it and trying to keep pressure on Louis Alessi, who's wide at turn 7. Seeing a lot of rear grip issues. The Mercedes and the Aston Martins, and more contact. Chrissy spins, and Leader ends up in the tire bundles.
Yeah, he's going to be off into the tire bundles there, just on the throttle a little bit early here, I think, as we ride on board. He saw an opportunity to be able to get by Mike Leader, tried to send that car up to the inside, and contact there, forcing that Mercedes to spin right around.
And knocked in the rear end of that car quite a bit, drops to 10th place, a little further back from the battle they were having. Has 4 seconds to gain to catch back up. And catching up is Andrew Pilata. We documented his start to this race was all the way in 8th. Here he comes to the outside of Kyle Herbst down here at turn number 1 at the very far end, Shoreline Drive.
Here they come. Let's see what that BMW is going to have in store for it here in the final 2.5 minutes. We obviously saw it prance away up into a good victory last time out. Having a little bit of problem here in the dirtier air, but still being able to close down on Herbst up ahead of him. No small feat.
Yeah, Herbst gained a lot of ground in that first sector. I know that BMW is good somewhere. I haven't been watching it for one moment long enough in chase mode to see really where it's gaining all that time. But in this first sector, not going the way that Pilata would have expected. And by the way, while we're watching this battle, Alessandrini is still leading, but that gap has come down half a second. If this race was an hour or 2 hours, I put my money on this 2 car getting back up there and winning this race. But coming to 2 laps to go, Alessandrini is still pretty safe despite losing nearly a second in the last couple of laps.
Yeah, and I wonder here, Kyle, if at this point he's maybe just backing the car off a little bit, not pushing nearly as hard as he needs to. He knows that he's got this gap to be able to take care of it as he's going to come to the line here with 2 laps to go.
Burkhardt, Daner, Herbst, and Pilata in tow, and this battle for 4th is the hottest one on the racetrack at the moment. Pilata, see what his VMAX looks like on the run down to turn number 1. For Herbst, it's about 142. I see 145 there on Pilata, so a little extra straightaway speed afforded by that BMW, and then a big clobbering of curb down at the first turn.
Yeah, big hit at the curb there. Not too aggressive there coming over the fountain section. Good to be able to keep that BMW in tow here, but this is our closest battle out on track, only about 0.8 of a second separating the 2 here at this point. And they continue to get their way going here, now down to about 0.5 of a second.
Yeah, he took a little scraping of the wall in a couple different corners also. BMW is a big car, and while this racetrack is not one of the narrower street circuits, you use every inch of the road, every inch of extent that you have. Pilata is finding that. If he can get the tire half an inch closer by bending in the door panel, he's going to go for it.
Yeah, I think so. He's going to absolutely push hammer and tongs to be able to get his way up forward. Watch for that big BMW. It's a little bit of a boxier engine here, a little bit of a boxier chassis, rather, to try to be able to take advantage in that draft. Got it under 0.5 of a second as Alessandrini comes to the line here for 1 lap to go.
Final lap here of race 2 of 3 for our Long Beach postseason encore event, and there are still some battles that need to be sorted, and there's Waxman way in the backdrop, but I think the battle to watch is this one. Pilata and Herbst, 0.2 of a second, 1.5. Pilata is gaining a ton of ground here on the straightaway, but it all comes down to this final lap. Herbst a little wide, and Pilata can take more curb.
Able to take a little bit more curb. Good line. Ooh, I think that may have been contact with the wall there potentially for Pilata, but he's going to be able to get back onto it as there's a little bit of a squiggle there from that Aston Martin in front of him.
How wide can Herbst make this? Aston Martin a little sideways here, and now Pilata's got drivers right. It's not the preferred line, but it's the line he's got. They touch. They bang doors on the run down to turn 7.
They bang towards Pilata, not able to get by though, but he looks for the over-under there coming through the Tecate turn, and it looks like he's going to have the grip off of the line to get that BMW in front, but here comes a fight back here from Herbst. Great on the binders there, headed on to Seaside Way.
Pilata set this up. He wanted this run onto the back straightaway. By the way, Kevin Zhu just had a crash at the exit of 5. He has continued. Pilata is not quite going to get there here. Checkered flag is waving for Alessandrini. He's coming close, but Pilata, big slide here for 4th place and a dive, and he's going to spin the 89 out and drives on through.
Gotta say there, I'm going to put the blame on that for Pilata, and he indeed is going to get out of the way here, it looks like, trying to give up as much time as possible, going down through the hairpin to try to let him on by.
Yeah.
This was an over-ambitious move there, Kyle.
Definitely. That low percentage move there for Pilata and just jam the nose down there. I'm sure Herbst will be frustrated with that, but postseason event, I don't think the feelings will be too exhausted over this one, but man, that was a tough one. Pilata, I mean, he saw an opportunity, it just wasn't a real one, and around went the 89, he'll finish 6th.
Yeah, it looks like that's where he is going to end up there at that point, and I think Pilata didn't realize how much he had spun him. It looked like he tried to take that hairpin a little bit wider to be able to give that position back, but it just didn't be able to make it, it looks like.
Yeah, so Pilata will grab the 4th, and we're going to have a brief warm-up period here before we head back to the race event here. Our final race of the evening is a 15-minute feature. Going to set the field up here again. Now, we've seen 2 fairly dominant wins. Pilata race 1, Alessandrini race 2. Now they're going to be kind of within the same zip code of each other on this race start, DJ. So Pilata's going to have some work to do, but I think Alessandrini might have someone coming behind him. Think about Morgan Burkhardt as well. He was faster. As soon as Morgan got to second, he started tracking down that 60.
Yeah, certainly did, and that could set up a nice little race for us here. And remember, 15 minutes, 5 minutes longer as they run, so that is going to mean that there's going to be a little bit more time to play out this race and to let a little bit of driving strategy take hold.
I think, you're talking about driving strategy, I think there's more to it than just going fast all the time, and I think talk about a little bit of conservation. You're not going to necessarily wear out your tires and blow them out by the end of the race, DJ, but you can overheat tires, be too aggressive, getting too deep into the ABS, and especially the Aston Martins in particular, so much sliding around on corner exit. I mean, I was watching the 89 of Herbst every turn when he was in that battle for second, just kicking out the rear end over and over and over. And while in the moment, you might think that you're gaining a little extra speed, you're just going to wear out the sidewall of that tire, overheat it, and lose grip throughout the race.
Yeah, exactly. You've got to keep those tires underneath you here at this point, just trying to be able to make sure you've got enough grip to attack whenever you need to and not overusing those tires at points of the race that's frankly going to do nothing to help you.
Yeah, and again, in a 15-minute race with only a handful of cars, there's going to be aggression. We've seen the aggression level be really high. Last week we raced with 40 cars at Lime Rock and got through the first couple laps with no incidents, but you take the points off the line and you make it a postseason event where nothing matters, and people are going to use the fenders and use the bumpers and make their cars wider. We've seen that tonight. Up front, we haven't really seen it a lot, at least not for the lead. We might see it now with this 15-minute race, the last event before 2023 for the DC region SCCA Virtual Racing League. They got the holiday spirit. Everyone's going to forget about this in a couple of weeks, so you're going to make someone mad. Now's the time.
Yeah, you're probably right about that, and we'll maybe see if there's a little bit of gloves off coming in this final race, although I can say that Andrew Pilata did come over the radio and apologize there for that contact going down into the Indy left that we saw just before. So still good sportsmanship, good friendship among these drivers, which is the crucial thing.
Yeah, and again, these guys are all SCCA members, and they know what the rules are, and they know when they've stepped over the bounds, and I think in that particular circumstance, we talk about at the end of the season, non-points event, just for fun. I think Pilata's intention was to go in there and probably just rough up the 89 and put him offline and have a little bit of a side-by-side battle into the hairpin. But it's so easy to step over that line and turn somebody around, especially when you get not quite fully alongside. When you get to the door, it's one thing, but getting the quarter panel always ends badly, at least in a GT4.
Yeah, very much so. And it's, heat of the moment. It's heat of the moment as you go into it, and that's what can pop around. But Kyle, we're ready to go racing here for the third and final race of the night.
We are, and starting grid is on the left-hand side of the screen again, and front row, DJ Alessandrini and Morgan Burkhardt. Those are the drivers that have really been in the mix in the second race, but Colin Daner, Andrew Pilata, that second row, they are no slouch either, especially that 96. If he can get clear of Daner and Burkhardt, I'd expect a really good battle for this top spot.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there as well. We'll have to see. Maybe Andrew is going to know that and try to be a little bit more aggressive off of the start. But I think the main heavyweight slugfest here is going to be between Alessandrini and Burkhardt. A lot of depending on if he's able to get that move done early.
Have another look at the weather here. Hasn't changed a whole lot tonight. Hasn't been a huge factor in this one. Not like we're talking about temperatures being in the hundreds of degrees on the racing surface, but it's actually a relatively cool track temp. 82 degrees. Shouldn't be cooking the Pirellis on these things all that bad, so we'll be in pretty good shape for this 15-minute event. This will be about an 11-lap race, all things considered, and we might see that time shift and shuffle just a little bit. Jack Chrissy made it to the grid this time. Did he? No, he did not. He's going to start from the pits again. I think.
Maybe just wanting to avoid any calamities coming down into turn one. I know that's a pretty popular strategy that I've seen employed here on the iRacing service at Long Beach in the past.
You don't start, I guess, that deep in the field because pit lane runs pretty close to turn one, so especially if you've got a good pit stall. Long pit lane exit road that you have to contend with, but maybe the time loss isn't really all that much. Slow run up to the start-finish line from Alessandrini as he gets packed up for a nice, clean start. 15 minutes, the last race of the season for the WDCR SCCA Virtual Racing League here from Long Beach. West Coast running, and we are green, racing again on Shoreline Drive. Alessandrini, nice launch. Morgan Burkhardt, Colin Daner slot in second and third, and there's Pilata in that teal number 96. Is he going to do anything down here at turn number 1?
He's going to look like he's going to try to make that move on Colin right now, but he's going to fall back into line. A little squirrely under braking, gets a tap from behind from Kyle Herbst, but he's able to keep that BMW underneath him.
Yeah, a lot of drivers entering turn 1 pretty conservatively that time, all things considered. We didn't see the side-by-side that we saw in the opening moments of tonight's races, but look at Burkhardt all over Alessandrini. DJ's taking a lot of curb here at turn 5. He might get that car a little upset. This time he sprints away excellently. McLaren, Mercedes, BMW, top 4 right now.
Yeah, and I'm going to be interested to see here how Alessandrini responds to the pressure, because remember in that first race he had some pressure up at the front and then lost the car. Probably going to have a better knowledge of how it's going to perform here at this point. Oh, contact into the wall for Burkhardt.
And for Daner behind both of them, tank slap to the wall there. Maybe they've tested the limits. They know how much they can push. But I wouldn't be starting off this race by lap 1 putting the car in the fence. Don't think it's going to hurt Morgan all that much, but do it a little bit more than that and it will hurt you.
Yeah, these GT4 cars can take a little bit of a lick, but you don't want to push that limit too hard, especially like that coming into the corner. You get that rear contact and you can easily throw an axle out of whack.
Yeah, it was a couple other cars getting in the wall at the exit of turn 11. All the way back there, Ken Ausil, by the way, remember his issues that he had in race number 2. Was a factor all season with Alessandrini in the MX-5 championship, but Knight has kind of been buried after that first race. Behind Luis Alessi on the run down to turn 1. Still 2/10 between the leaders. Everyone else kind of running line astern here. You talked about the stratification of this race. I think we're seeing that in play right now.
Yeah, I think we are too. Drivers just being a little bit more conservative, although we've got a very, very fierce fight. That's Leader and Waxman as they work down into the fountain section. I thought there for a second that Leader was going to have a little bit of a problem as he got so wide through there, and that car looks very, very unsettled.
And here comes Waxman, a big run in the Mercedes AMG to the inside. Got the preferred line, is going to make pretty quick work. Leader going to tuck in and try to do the crossover on him here, but now what? You get to the right-hander at 8. Got the same problem you just had.
Yeah, certainly is, but let's see if he can carry some more speed around the outside. That was very close to that outside tire barrier.
We've had a change for the lead. Alessandrini drops to 5th as Pilata defends from Morgan Burkhardt, so something has happened. I think it was down at turn 8, and Alessandrini, yeah, you see it here briefly, at turn 8, made a big mistake here, and it's going to cost him 4 positions.
Contact. And Burkhardt made the same mistake as well. That ping pong effect that we talked about, clipped that inside curb, and that just spat him right onto the outside. We got a couple of drivers coming down into the pits.
Yeah.
That's Burkhardt and Alessandrini.
Yeah, their cars are destroyed. They hit that inside wall and then slammed into the outside. It's going to hurt him. That's going to turn the lead over to Daner, and he's got a hungry Pilata behind him and looking for an overtake into turn 1. And they're going to touch doors as Pilata takes the position away.
Takes the position away, but gets the move done. He's going to be up into first place, and let's see if we see a repeat of that first race where he's just able to scamper off into the distance.
Yeah, that was not what Alessandrini and Burkhardt needed. But Andrew Pilata went from 5th to 1st in 1 lap, so I'm sure he'll take that as Burkhardt and DJ are back on the racetrack now. Just now getting out of pit lane 11th and 12th, but a long ways back, 30 seconds from the top spot. I'm not sure there's anyone up front that can really take the fight to Pilata. We'll see how long Daner can hang on for.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much the imperative word there is just hang on. That is Alessi having a problem dropping down through the order coming off of the Tecate turn.
Yeah, for as many drivers as we saw being conservative on the opening lap, laps 2 and 3 have been problematic. There's Alessi in the wall pretty hard there. Go back and see if he got the inside wall first. No, just understeer and got it pretty good.
Yeah, and that's a pretty simple matter there, Kyle. I think he got onto the throttle just a little bit too early, didn't hit it right at the apex. That caused the car to understeer out, and that's what caused that damage to the right-hand side of that number 43.
We'll be nursing that one around for a little while. Drops to 10th. Here's Mike Leader now dealing with Ido Waxman in the number 8 Mercedes, and he is closing quick on the run down to turn 1. A little bit defensive from Leader. Waxman late dive here into turn 1, side by side for a moment.
Ooh, and a little bit offline there for Leader, but able to gather it up back underneath him. Let's see if that Porsche is going to look a little bit more composed coming through the fountain section. It is. That car is very much dancing. It looks like it's on an absolute knife edge. It may have even been contact there with the wall.
Yeah, I think he got it a little bit. You'd think, and you see it. I think he got a slow down as well to boot from cutting a corner a little too much, but the Porsche would have been one of the cars I would have chosen for this race. It's known for being very nimble, but for whatever reason, the characteristics don't seem to be suiting this particular track. Look at Waxman and Houseel battling for fourth.
Yeah, Houseel thinking about trying to throw a move. A little bit of a look there coming down onto Seaside Way, but not enough to make it run. Now he's going to tuck up behind in the draft. We'll have to see if he's close enough here. It's 0.2 of a second to have a move into the Firestone turn.
And Leader is in the backdrop fighting. So is Kevin Zhu and Jack Christie. See him at the back of the shot in the black and red Mercedes. Oh, the 8's in the wall. Waxman pounds the fence. Here comes Houseel, looking for an overtake at the entry and exit of turn 11. That's a tight dive up turn 11. They're going to, oh, this is going to be a mess.
Big stack up on the exit of the corner there, and it looks like 3 cars completely spun around. The only people that's going to be good news for, Morgan Burkhardt and DJ Alessandrini.
Yeah, this is the classic Long Beach stack up there. And what, the 89 in the backdrop, by the way, did you see that?
Yeah, just, I wonder if that was maybe a mechanical issue or something, as it looks like that car just kind of speared off the wall, said day's done.
Yeah, that was odd. But with our Long Beach stack up out of the way, those cars are back rolling 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th. Up front, Hollandaner's keeping Pilata honest. He's only 0.6 back. And Pilata just scraped the inside wall. He's still getting greedy here with 8 minutes to go, but again, it's really these two against the world because it's 8 seconds back to Jack Christie in third. Remember, he started in the pits in this race?
Yeah, that's pretty remarkable, and it just goes to show you that Jack may have had a little bit of a heads up there to avoid some of the incidents coming in, and he's just been able to pick his way up through the field, driving a good, clean race here at that point, and that's all he needs.
Here's Adam Koback in the number 85. Also started deep in the field, 11th place in this one. He's picked up some left side damage, repping a Grid Life banner on there. But following in tow, but behind Mike Leader as we work our way effectively past the halfway point here at 7.5 minutes to go. That Porsche gets up and goes on corner exit, doesn't it? Holy cow, that thing rips.
Yeah, it really does. It's got great acceleration, and as you said earlier, a very, very nimble car. And I agree with you. I'm a little bit surprised that we didn't see more of them here tonight, as I would have thought that would have been one of the more preferred choices. But for all of the nimbleness that it does possess, it can be a little bit unpredictable. Can want to dance a little bit on you. And so I think that's why drivers chose for more of the Aston Martins or the Mercedes, ones that are just a little bit more predictable, albeit a little bit more understeering.
Yeah, when this car originally came out, I was not a huge fan of the way the traction control felt. I liked the ABS in this car a lot, but it is really over time kind of gotten tuned to a pretty remarkably balanced car, but it does tend to get a little oversteery at bumpy tracks in particular. And Houseel, by the way, has just had another problem. But not a good night for the 23. Typically, he's all the way up at the front, but just got into turn 1 too late and used the runoff, but drops all the way to 11th, the last running on the racetrack.
Yeah, and he'll have to back it up there and get himself back around right now. He's going to find himself behind Waxman right now, as is Adam Koback directly behind Mike Leader here at this point as they dive into the Firestone turn. This battle just percolating, and again, contact with the outside wall there for Mike Leader.
Yeah, pushing the limits here. 6 minutes to go and trying to run away from Adam Koback. Adam's keeping the pressure on. For the lead, Pilata continues to sprint away. It's a 1 second gap. This is the most volatile battle on the racetrack at the moment. It's 6 minutes to go.
6 minutes to go, just a handful of laps here at this point. Looks like Koback tried to maybe fill up the rear view mirrors there of Leader to see if he could get him to bite a little bit on the defensive line, but Leader knows better, doesn't make that mistake, and I think he's actually able to gain about a tenth or two there coming down in through turn 1.
You see that, watch the 53 come through turn 1 here. As he gets to corner exit, I'm not sure the best angle to show, but gets through turn 1, gets the inside curb, and watch the rear of this car. Throttles up, and here he just hangs it out and was sideways right up against the wall and didn't hit it. So he's got that thing right on the edge of control. Even when he's not hitting the wall, he's got it all the way out to the edge of the road, trying to keep Koback behind him. But they're not going to run down Jack Christie either. He's 3 seconds ahead. It was really just these two battling for fourth at the moment.
Yeah, and to your point about seeing that car really slide out there like that, that's going to be something that's going to give Adam Koback a little bit of impetus to try to get himself forward. He's going to keep trying to put pressure here to the back of Leader to just see if that little bit of a slide can turn into a bigger slide and a bigger mistake. He knows that car is on the ragged edge, and he wants to see how far he can push it.
By the way, familiar number decals on the side of this car as well. You notice the Pirelli GT4 America decals on this, and hey, look, CrowdStrike right on the tailpipes of that car. I know typically in the DC region SCCA, we're representing club-level racing, but with the move up to GT cars for this, we're seeing a lot of resemblance to some of our GT car friends and family.
Yeah, we are, and it's lovely to see a little bit of that representation. Obviously, it's the off-season for in-person racing, so seeing those signs on the side of a car, it just makes me long for March.
Well, he just left a little bit of that decal on the concrete wall at the exit of Turn 5, but he got another side he can use also. A little bit of battle back here for 10th, Ito Waxman and Ken House-Seal, and DJ Alessandrini. Where did he go?
I think that's in one of the access roads. He must have just pulled the car off.
I don't know what's going on here. Let's have a look at what happened to DJ Alessandrini.
It's coming down into turn 1. I think that may just be a little bit of a situation where DJ just may be a little bit done with the race and decided to park it.
I guess. I was trying to figure out where he went, but nowhere. Back to pit lane, Leader and Koback, their battle continues. 3 minutes and 37 seconds to go. So Koback tried to throttle up a little soon and kick the rear end out. Look how much ground he lost to Leader. That Porsche, it's got really good weight balance over the rear tires. It's not a rear engine Porsche, it's a mid-engine car. But compare that to the front mid layout of this Mercedes AMG, how much more weight the Porsche has on the rear tires, so it doesn't slip and slide around as much on throttle as the Mercedes does, and that helped out a lot there on the run up to Shoreline Drive.
Yeah, very much helped out Mike Leader to be able to keep himself ahead, but a little bit of contact there with the outside wall coming down off of turn 1 again. Still shows that Leader is just pushing this car on the ragged edge, trying to be able to see how far he can take it, and I think that's allowing for Koback here at this point to just keep that Mercedes number 85 right involved in this battle.
Coming to 2 laps to go, and it's getting fierce between these two. Half a car length. And when the pressure is on this high from Koback to Leader, Koback can sense that, and he's going to keep putting the 53 offline in defensive mode. That's only going to help facilitate the pass. If he can get the guy to look up in the mirror, glance at it just for a second, and throw him off.
Exactly. The more you can force a driver to look in the rearview mirror rather than the road ahead, the better you're going to be. And watch here in these last couple of laps, I believe it's going to be about the last 2 laps here as the leaders just crossed over the line. Watch for Koback to start to poke his nose this way and that. Try to make that car in the rearview mirror appear unpredictable and to try to throw Leader off of his game just a little bit.
So fascinating how dimensionally different the Mercedes AMG is to the Porsche. Just the width and height of these two cars is almost inversed. Koback, a big run down here into turn 1, sliding on the ABS, and a big chunk of curb to try to make up some ground on Leader through turn 1 into the fountain turn, but the Mercedes AMG is not advantageous where Koback it to be right now, and the Porsche really sprinting away here in some of these tighter sections.
Yeah, just able to hold on to the advantage when Leader needs the advantage, and that's what's crucial here about this. Koback just not able to really capitalize on those opportunities. Whoa, that was late on the binders.
Yeah, and he sacrificed really that entire lap of gain that he had, all for that run down, and I think he just got distracted for a second and missed the braking point by 10 feet. It's all it takes, and Long Beach is an unforgiving place. And in some places, if you miss your braking zone, your best option is to completely bail out and go straight. I mean, if you try to hang on to it, you're just going to end up hitting a wall. Oh, and both of them are going to hit the wall. Man, just like that.
This is driving on the absolute limit here, Kyle. Both of these drivers putting it as far as they can to the end, as here comes your leaders. They've already crossed over the start-finish line. White flag is in the air. It's now or never time if you're Adam Koback.
0.3 of a second is the difference between these two, right under the Acura bridge. And Koback trying to use every inch of this Mercedes AMG behind the Porsche in the slipstream into turn 1. his leader too late on the brakes. Conservative entry there for Koback. He didn't want to make the same mistake.
Oh, but took way too much of that curb. That unsettled that Mercedes-AMG GT4 just a little bit, and that's a little bit of lawn care maintenance I think both cars were doing.
I was going to say, both cars took a lot of flowers out of the flower bed there. The leader's got a little bit of a safety net now, 0.8 of a second. About a half a lap left to hang on to it, but I think Koback kind of threw it away with a really conservative turn 1 entry. Didn't want to make the same mistake that he had made entering Firestone turn the previous lap, where he kind of followed leader into a mistake. And I think he was going to let leader overdrive it, but when he backed off early, leader did too. He saw it in the mirror. Checkered flag waves, though. Andrew Pilata redeems himself after a mistake last race. Checkered flag waves, and the 96 will win 2 of the 3 tonight. Andrew Pilata gets it done at Long Beach.
Great run for him. And let's give some credit here to Colin Danner, who really and truly was able to keep some relative pace behind him there in that number 88, only 1.9 seconds behind.
Yeah, nice run there for Danner. Did a good job in that one. And Mike Leader and Adam Koback, final turn, and Leader's going to hang on. 4th place for the 53 and 5th for the 85. Both these drivers rebounding from poor races previous to this. They're going to end up both with a top 5 result. Kevin Zhu, Louis Alessi, Morgan Burkhardt, Ken Ausil, DJ Alessandrini, Ida Waxman, and Kyle Herbst make up the rest of the field. We have a look here at our race results, DJ. Fun night of racing, but Pilata wins the feature 15 minutes in, and had some drivers that could have brought the fight to him, including Alessandrini and the 2 of Morgan Burkhardt, but they all ended up wadding up their own stuff, DJ.
Yeah, it's the story of Long Beach. You've got to finish the race before you can start to fight up for those lead battles. It is so very easy to get just a little bit offline around here, find yourself into some trouble, and that's exactly what happened to some of the favorites here tonight, and frankly, what gifted this race over to Andrew Pilata.
Yeah, Pilata got it done. Colin Danner, again, as you mentioned, a really strong race, and Jack Chrissy on the podium after starting from the pits. That goes to show you how wild it was out there in this final race of the night. But GT4 cars, I love watching these things race. Same thing with the TCRs, DJ. There's something about them. They just look dynamic on the racetrack. They move around a lot. Drivers can make mistakes, and they're tricky to recover from. But in the moment, those side-by-side battles are like nothing else.
Oh, most certainly. And you can lean on each other just a little bit, have a little bit of fun with each other. It's absolutely spectacular racing. By far, some of my favorite racing across the entire motorsport spectrum.
Yeah, we're not going to do interviews tonight in this postseason event, but thank you so much for joining us this season. 11 rounds we've completed. We head off into the spring. There'll be more DC Region SCCA action here on SimTV when the weather begins to warm up and just before we head out to the real world season. Thanks so much for watching all season long. We'll see you in 2023. Happy holidays to everybody who celebrates. See you on the other side. Kyle Heyer with DJ Clark. We'll see you next time here from SimTV.